All right, I want to start here. I want to start with identity, because identity is really about understanding who you are. And if you come from a place where there was no foundation, no teaching, no clarity about who you are in Christ, you can end up feeling completely out of place, like you're trying to live life the way everyone is telling you to, but something in you just doesn't fit. And that was me. I was constantly asking God, who am I? Because everything around me was trying to define me, but every time I tried to step into those definitions, I felt resistance. Like something in me was saying, this is not it, and I didn't understand why. I'm the kind of person who thrives on truth. If something is off, it's not small to me. Loyalty matters to me. Clarity matters to me. And I also realized, I think very black and white. And I remember being told, you need to live in the gray. And I tried. But every time I tried to function that way, I felt anxious, out of place, agitated. I didn't understand why I was reacting like that. Even the way I spoke. I speak directly. I speak with conviction. And people would say, that's harsh. And I would sit there thinking, I don't know how else to say it. I'm actually trying to say this gently. And then I came across this teaching on the redemptive gifts in Romans 12 through Dr. Laura Singer and Arthur Burke. I'm going to link their resources below, and I highly recommend you go deeper into their teaching. Because when I understood this, everything shifted. I realized, this is how God designed me. That, the way I think, the way I process, the way I speak, it wasn't something I needed to fix. It was something I needed to understand. And for the first time, I felt peace. I stopped trying to force myself into something I wasn't. And I started seeing myself through the lens of how God created me. So my hope in sharing this with you is that you start to see yourself too. Not through the standards of the world, but through the design of God. Because this right here, this is where identity begins. Before I even walk into the first gift, I want to say something that's really important. Everything God creates is good. So when we talk about these gifts, we're not talking about strengths versus weaknesses like something is wrong with you. We're talking about design, and even the places that feel like limitations. They're not accidents. They're intentional. Because God didn't design any one person to carry everything. He designed us to need each other. So what might feel like, why am I like this? Is actually an invitation. An invitation to connect with someone who carries something different. That's how the body of Christ works. Not one person being everything, but each person carrying a part. The first gift, prophecy, the perceiver. So let's talk about the perceiver. And you might recognize yourself in this right away. You're the kind of person who sees things clearly. You don't always need someone to explain it. You just know when something is right and when something is off. There's a clarity in how you process things. Truth matters to you deeply, not just as an idea, but as something you feel responsible for. If something is misaligned, you notice it. If something is inconsistent, you feel it. And a lot of times, you feel it before anyone else even says anything. You may have also been the person who's been told, you're too direct, you're too intense, you're too black and white, and maybe you've tried to adjust that. Maybe you've tried to soften it or hold it back, but something in you resists that. Not because you're trying to be difficult, but because you're wired for clarity. And here's the beauty in how God designed this gift. You bring truth into places where there is confusion. You help people see what's real. You help bring alignment when things are out of place. There is a strong sense of right and wrong in you, and that's not something to dismiss. That's something God placed there on purpose. Now, the way this gift grows is not by removing that clarity. It's by refining how it's carried, because the same truth that brings clarity can also bring healing when it's paired with the right timing and the right delivery. And that's where the body comes in. Because perceivers carry the mind of God, they see clearly, but they're not meant to carry everything alone. That's why the gift of mercy exists. That's why other gifts exist. So that truth is not just spoken, but also received, supported, and lived out in love. So if this is you, you're not too much. You're not wrong for seeing what you see. You're not wrong for valuing truth the way you do. You're learning how to carry it. And you're learning how to walk with others who carry what you don't. And that's where it becomes powerful. The next gift, serving the servant. Now, this next gift feels very different because where the perceiver sees clearly, the servant responds quickly. You might be the kind of person who notices things other people don't. You see a need, and before anyone even says anything, you're already moving. Someone's struggling. You step in. Something needs to get done. You handle it. It's almost automatic. And for you, it's not about recognition. It's not about being seen. You just genuinely care. You want things to be okay. You want people to be supported. You want things to run smoothly. And sometimes, people come to expect that from you. Not because you told them to, but because you're consistent. You show up. You're reliable. You're the one people can count on. And there's something really beautiful about that. Because what you carry is the ability to bring love into action. You don't just feel compassion, you do something with it. You create stability. You create support. You help hold things together in ways that most people don't even see. And if you're honest, there are moments where you've probably stepped in so quickly that you didn't even stop to ask if you should. Not because something is wrong, but because your instinct is to serve. And as God grows this gift, He doesn't take that away. He refines it. He teaches you how to serve from a place of strength, not pressure. He teaches you that you don't have to carry everything, and that sometimes giving others the opportunity to step in is part of the design too. Because just like every other gift, you were never meant to do this alone. So if this is you, there is nothing small about what you carry. You are the one who makes things work. You are the one who creates support where it's needed. And what you do matters more than you probably realize. The next gift, teaching the teacher. Now this next gift processes a little differently because instead of immediately responding, you're the one who needs to understand. You hear something and you don't just accept it at face value. You start asking questions. How does that work? Why does that make sense? How does this connect to everything else? You're not trying to challenge people. You're trying to make it make sense. Because for you, truth isn't just something you hear. It's something you need to understand deeply. And you might have been told before, you're overthinking. You're asking too many questions. Just go with it. But something in you resists that because you're not wired to just take things in. You're wired to process them. And there's something really steady about that. Because what you carry is the ability to bring clarity. You can take something that feels complicated and break it down in a way that other people can actually understand. You connect things. You see patterns. You help people not just hear truth, but grasp it. And people feel safe with you because you listen. You don't rush to respond. You take things in. And when you speak, it's thoughtful. It's grounded. And as God grows this gift, He doesn't take away your need to understand. He expands it. He teaches you how to move forward even when you don't have every piece yet. How to trust Him, even when the full picture is invisible. Because your strength is in understanding, but your growth comes in trusting beyond what you can see. So if this is you, you're not overthinking. You're processing. You're building something solid. And what you carry brings its stability to the people around you. The next gift, encouraging the exhorter. Now this next gift, you feel it when they walk into a room. Because where the teacher is processing, the encourager is connecting. You might be the kind of person who can talk to almost anyone. You meet someone, and within minutes, it feels like you've known them for years. People open up to you easily. They feel comfortable around you. And it's not something you're trying to do. It's just natural. You see something in people. You see potential. You see possibility, even when they don't see it in themselves. And you're the kind of person who speaks life. You say things that lift people. You say things that shift someone's mindset in a moment. And sometimes, you don't even realize how much your words matter. You might have also noticed you don't like being alone for too long. You're energized by people, by conversation, by connection, and even when there's disagreement, you don't immediately disconnect. You find a way to stay connected, to communicate, to work through it. And there's something really powerful in that, because what you carry is the ability to bring people forward. You don't just see where they are, you see where they could be, and you help them move toward that. And as God grows this gift, He doesn't take away your ability to connect. He deepens it. He brings discernment into it, so that your words don't just encourage, but they land at the right time, in the right way, for the right person. Because connection is your strength, but alignment is what makes it powerful. So if this is you, you're not just talkative, you're not just social, you carry something that moves people. And what you say has the ability to change the direction of someone's life. The next gift, giving, the giver. Now this next gift sees life a little differently, because where the encourager is focused on people in the moment, the giver is thinking ahead. You might be the kind of person who naturally looks at things and thinks, where's this going? How can this grow? What will this look like long term? You don't just make decisions for today. You think about what comes next. You think about sustainability. You think about impact, not just now, but later. And when it comes to giving, you're intentional. You're not impulsive. You don't just give because someone asked. You give because it makes sense, because you've thought it through, because you can see the value in it. And there's something very steady about that. You're not easily swayed. You're not easily pressured. You carry a kind of independence where you can look at a situation and say, okay, this is what needs to be done. And in your own way, you create provision. You create stability. You help build something that lasts. And you may not always ask for help yourself, not because you don't need it, but because you're used to figuring things out. You're used to finding solutions. And as God grows this gift, He doesn't take away your wisdom. He expands it. He teaches you how to balance strategy with openness, how to allow others in, not just carry things on your own, because what you carry is powerful. You don't just give, you build. You create something that outlives the moment. So if this is you, you're not distant. You're intentional. You're not holding back. You're discerning. And what you carry has the ability to create lasting impact far beyond what you can see right now. The next gift, leadership, the leader. Now this next gift moves things forward, because where the giver is thinking long term, the leader is thinking, okay, how do we actually make this happen? You might be the kind of person who sees something and almost immediately starts organizing it in your mind. What needs to be done? Who needs to be involved? What's the next step? You don't just see ideas, you see structure. You see how things can come together, and you're not afraid of responsibility. In fact, you tend to step into it, not because you're trying to control anything, but because you can see what needs to happen. You're the kind of person who can take something that feels scattered and bring order to it. You help things move. You help things get done. And people naturally begin to look to you for direction. Not always because you asked for it, but because you carry that sense of clarity and movement. And you may have noticed, you don't always need a lot of validation to make a decision. Once you know what needs to be done, you move. And as God grows this gift, He doesn't take away your ability to lead. He deepens it. He teaches you how to build not just with structure, but with people in mind. How to create movement that doesn't just accomplish something, but also strengthens the people involved. Because your strength is in execution, but your impact grows when you bring others with you. So if this is you, you're not too driven. You're not doing too much. You were created to build, to organize, and to move things forward. And what you carry has the ability to turn vision into reality. The final gift, mercy, the mercy gift. Now this last gift feels deeply, because where the leader is moving things forward, the mercy gift is feeling what's going on beneath the surface. You might be the kind of person who can walk into a room and immediately sense who's hurting. No one has to say anything. You just know. And people are drawn to you. They open up to you. Sometimes very quickly. Sometimes without even understanding why. But there's something about you that feels safe. You create space. You make people feel seen. You make people feel understood without them having to explain everything. And you feel things deeply, not just your own emotions, but other people's too. And sometimes that can feel heavy because you're not just observing what's happening, you're experiencing it with them. But there's something incredibly beautiful in that, because what you carry is the heart of God. You reflect His compassion, His patience, His closeness to people who are hurting. You're not quick to push people. You're not quick to confront, not because you're avoiding anything, but because your instinct is to protect, to nurture, to make sure people feel safe first. And as God grows this gift, He strengthens it. He adds clarity where needed. He builds confidence in you so that your compassion doesn't become overwhelming. It becomes sustaining. Because your strength is in connection, but your impact grows when that connection is supported with stability. And this is where it all comes together. Because the perceiver carries the mind of God, they see clearly. But the mercy gift carries the heart of God, they feel deeply. And we need both. We need truth, and we need compassion. We need clarity, and we need connection. So if this is you, there is nothing weak about what you carry. There is nothing small about it. You bring healing. You bring safety. You bring the presence of God into places that need it most. And that is powerful. So now, take a moment, because as you've been listening to this, you probably found yourself somewhere in it. Maybe in one gift, maybe in a couple of them. Maybe you felt something click for the first time and thought, wait, that's me. And that's the point. Not to label you, not to box you in, but to help you recognize how God already designed you. Because when you don't understand that, you spend a lot of time trying to fix things that were never broken. You try to adjust yourself to fit into systems that weren't built for you. You start measuring yourself by standards that don't match your design. But when you do understand it, something shifts. You stop fighting yourself. You stop shrinking. You stop questioning everything about who you are. And you start to see, this isn't random. This is intentional. And that's where something else begins to make sense. What it means to walk in dominion authority. Dominion authority isn't about control. It isn't about power in the way the world defines it. It's about alignment. It's about knowing who God created you to be and actually walking in that, because from the very beginning, God gave humanity responsibility to steward, to build, to cultivate, to bring order. And when you don't know who you are, it's very hard to walk in that, because you're constantly second-guessing yourself, constantly trying to become something else. But when you begin to understand your design, you start to move differently. You make decisions differently. You carry yourself differently, not from a place of striving, but from a place of clarity. And that's what authority looks like. Not forcing anything, not proving anything, but living from the place of, this is who God created me to be. So take time with this. Don't rush it. Pay attention to what stood out to you. What felt familiar? What felt like it was describing you in a way you couldn't quite explain before? Because that's where you start. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. In Jesus' name.